Hi guys, how are you? Hope you are doing good. Welcome back to my channel. Today, let us talk about growth stages of wheat. There are some of the few growth stages of wheat. They are divided into four stages. First is pre-establishment stages, vegetative stages, reproductive stages, post-anthesis stages. Let us see what are the stages which are included in the pre-establishment stages. Firstly, pre-emergence stage, where the germination of seeds which produce seminal roots and coleoptiles. And the second stage in the pre-establishment stages of the wheat or emergence. The germinating seed produces coleoptile which is grown above the soil surface. Next, coming to the vegetative stages, where it includes seedling and crown root initiation stage, tillering stage, and jointing stage, where seedling shows young plant establishment, larger root systems in their seedling stage, and crown root initiation stage. This coincides with the 3 or 4 leaf stage of the plants. Tillering, the plant produces crown and branch out into the tillers from their base at the soil surface. Jointing. At this stage, the plant starts elongating when the node starts developing above the crown node. The reproductive stages and post-anthesis stages. Budding, heading, flowering, post-anthesis stage is filling, maturity and harvesting. Coming to the budding stage, the uppermost leaf swells out into flag holding the spike into it, and heading stage where the spike starts emerging out from the leaf sheath and shows the head appearance in the plant. Flowering stage, the anthesis of the florets and fertilization of ovaries takes place. Coming to the post-anthesis stages, the filling. After fertilization, the ovaries start elongating in ovules or seed passing through milk or soft dough and hard dough stages. Maturity. At this stage, the color of the glumes change and kernels become fairly hard. Last stage is harvesting stage. Coming to the germination of wheat grain, where you can observe in the image we are having the germination of the wheat grain, which is having the parts like coleoptile, seminal roots and radicle. And in the germination stage, adequate temperature and moisture are needed for wheat seeds to germinate. The germination may occur between 4 to 37 degree centigrade, and the optimal temperature being from 12 to 25 degrees centigrade, the minimum water content required in the grain for wheat germination. And you can observe the crown formation stage at the 20 days after sowing. Here you can observe the crown root initiation. The transition zone between the root and the shoot is known as crown root initiation stage, and it is clearly observed in this image. This coincides with the 3 or 4 leaf stage of the plant. Coming to the vegetative stages, where the germination, emergence, first leaf stage, two leaf stage, three leaf initiation, initial tillering or comes under the vegetative phase, and vegetative stages of the poaceae is observed in this image clearly, and you can observe in this image. Let's see the tillering stage, which is occurring at 40 to 45 days after sowing. Tillering plant of wheat. You can observe the tillers of the wheat plant. Tillering usually starts when the plant has 3 to 4 leaves. Several factors such as variety, light, temperature, soil humidity, spacing and fertilization practices influences the tillering, which is at the stage of 40 to 45 days after sowing. Coming to the first node jointing stage, which shows the days of 60 to 65 days after sowing, and you can observe it is the sixth growth stage and first node stage. The critical stage of wheat development is when the first joint or node emerges above the soil, and this joint provides visual evidence that the plants have initiated their reproductive phase of development and consequently alerts their response to the conditions and management. The jointing stage, which is occurring at 60 to 65 days after sowing. You should observe the days where and when is the growth happening in the wheat crop. Coming to the flag leaf begins to emerge stage, the emergence of the final leaf called flag leaf. When the tip of the flag leaf begins to emerge, the shoot said to be at peak growth stage. Coming to the next stage, here you can observe the booting stage at 60 to 75 days after sowing and heading stage at 70 to 75 days after sowing. Here the boot stage is clearly observed. Below the flag leaf we have the sheath, which is somewhat a bulged type, and the head is inside the sheath, and you can observe here heading stage where head arises in the wheat, and you can clearly observe the pictures for the booting and heading stages of the wheat. Flowering stage, which occurs at 80 to 85 days after sowing, depending on the weather and the variety. Flowering usually occurs about 3 to 5 days after full head emergence. Flowering is marked by the extrusion of anthers from the spikelets. The region for which this process is also referred to as anthesis. Flowering will continue over the next 7 to 10 days. Milking stage, which occurs at 100 to 105 days after sowing. The milk stage is the first part of the maturing, and this is when the kernel begins forming. And coming to the next stage, we have dough stage at 105 to 110 days after sowing, and the dough stage you can observe the early development at 83 days, soft development at 85 days, hard development at 87 days, and there are of two types. We have soft dough and hard dough as we observe in the figure. And coming to the next stage of the wheat, ripening and maturity stage in wheat. The ripening stage begins after the pollination. The ripening is divided into four levels of maturity: milk, soft dough, hard dough, and finally mature. It is during this stage that the wheat plants turn to a straw color and the kernel becomes very hard in this stage. Coming to the next stage, we have some of the critical stages of wheat is crown root initiation stage, tillering stage, jointing stage, boarding stage, flowering, milk and dough. Here you can observe the growth stages of the wheat in a clear picture of first stage to the last stage, where from emergence to the harvesting stage. The tillering stage includes the tillers, leaf sheath strengthens and stem elongation to the first node of the stem visible to the booting stage is the stem elongation, and heading stage, ripening stage. After ripening, there are harvesting stage. The wheat crop is important, and the growth stages are very important for the wheat, and wheat crop is India's prime most staple harvest, placed second only to rice. It is mostly consumed in north and northwest parts of the country, being rich in protein, vitamin and carbohydrates. It provides a balanced food to millions of people each day. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel.